Gunther Steiner's rise to fame as a team principal and the spiritual heart of the Haas F1 team was turbocharged by his huge personality and charismatic interviews on the Netflix series Drive to Survive. His famous catchphrases like "Don't Fox smash my door" and "I have to call Gene" are known to fans around the world. For once though, it seems Gene had to call Gunther. With his contract coming to an end, Gunther Steiner has been let go from the Haas F1 team as their team principal. Today, I'll talk about the end of an F1 era, what this means for Haas, Gunther, and the wider F1 world, so don't go anywhere. So the first thing to talk about is Gunther Steiner being let go from the Haas F1 team. This is very much not a firing. Just like drivers, F1 team principals, and a lot of other senior staff have time-constrained contracts, which expire after a set number of years. When the contract expires, if another is not in place to replace it, then the working relationship between the team and the employee ends. Gunther's contract with the Haas F1 team had an expiry date for this January, and with that contract now over, his working relationship and role as team principal with the Haas team is done. The US-based team, whose factory is located in Banbury, Oxfordshire, announced on Wednesday the 58-year-old will be replaced by their former director of engineering, Io Komatsu. Any team hiring a completely fresh team principal is a pretty big deal. James Vowles taking over at Williams was a huge deal. Taking the F1 minnows into the midfield will be the main aim for Komatsu over the next few years. But the big story here is of course Gunther Steiner. The press release from the Haas F1 team read, "I'd like to start by extending my thanks to Gunther Steiner for all his hard work over the past decade, and I wish him well for the future," commented Gene Haas, team owner at MoneyGram Haas F1 team. Moving forward as an organization, it was clear we need to improve our on-track performances. In appointing Io Komatsu as team principal, we fundamentally have engineering at the heart of our management. Haas continued by saying, "We've had some successes, but we need to be consistent in delivering results that help us reach our wider goals as an organization. We need to be efficient with the resources we have, but improving our design and engineering capability is key to our success as a team. I'm looking forward to working with Io and fundamentally ensuring that we maximize our potential. This truly reflects my desire to compete properly in Formula 1. The statement from Gene says a lot about the end of the relationship between Gunther and Gene. The Haas F1 team has never been successful in any sporting measure. The highest ever finish in the Constructors' Championship was 5th, way back in 2018. From there though, things went downhill. A disastrous 2-point finishes in 2020 was followed by a horror season, with Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher behind the wheel of the cars, costing Haas millions of dollars in repair bills and scoring 0 points, while only breaking into the top 15 finishers on 4 occasions. They have been marginally better since the regulation changes in 2022, but last season they were a resounding last place. Competitiveness on Saturdays was followed by regular disappointments on Sundays, as the team's car destroyed any tyres that were fitted for more than 5 laps. The car did not improve over the course of the season either. While you could say that the design and development of the car is not directly Gunther's role as team principal, at the end of the day, he is the head honcho. How the team performs is a direct reflection on his performance in his role, and he has to take responsibility for the team finishing last in 2023. Speaking about the changes at the top of the team, Gene said, "I talked to a lot of the engineers, and I think our biggest failing is aero. Our aero program needs work. When you're at the track and you're humiliated every weekend, I'm going to stop taking that one anymore." Expanding on the departure of Steiner, he insisted that changes were needed in an attempt to raise the team's level. "It came down to performance," he said. "Here we are in our 8th year. Over 160 races, we've never had a podium. The last couple of years, we've been 10th or 9th. I'm not here saying it's Gunther's fault or anything like that, but it just seems like this was an appropriate time to make a change and try a different direction, because it doesn't seem like continuing with what we had is really going to work." With any other team principal leaving a team, you would say it was just business. This is a results-driven sport after all, and any other team that had performed as badly as Haas did last year would be making changes as well. But Gunther Steiner at Haas was different. Gunther Steiner wasn't just the public face of the Haas Formula 1 team. Without Steiner, there would have been no Haas F1 team at all. While billionaire Gene Haas had the money, Steiner was the key to making the project happen, and his importance to the team he's now parted from therefore cannot be understated. Gene Haas, already a successful NASCAR team owner, had been courted by the ill-fated US F1 team that was due to join the F1 grid in 2010 but never made it. Although Haas didn't back US F1, his Haas CNC machine tools company did supply some equipment, and Steiner, who had F1 experience from his previous stints with Jaguar and Red Bull, was also part of the US F1 story, as when the project faltered, he was called in by its backers to see if he could salvage it via an alliance with another new team, HRT. While the HRT team never happened, the connection between Gene Haas and Guenther Steiner had been established, and from there, it was just a matter of time until they found a way into the sport. Setting up a fully fledged F1 team was never on the cards. Haas may be a billionaire, but he wasn't running his own F1 team billionaire rich. Guenther got about establishing a connection with Ferrari, and with F1 allowing teams to buy a large number of parts from other teams, the Haas F1 team could exist by paying Ferrari a huge amount of money every year for parts and wind tunnel time. Haas are a unique team. They are truly global with bases in the US, England, and Italy, and while it may not be the best way to run an F1 team, it has allowed them to exist. Guenther was a massive part of all of that. Gene may have signed the checks, but Guenther was the face of the team. Whether that rubbed the wrong way with Gene or not is something that will be debated for weeks to come. But Guenther was Haas F1, and Haas F1 was Guenther, and the team will miss him. Whether they'll miss him for competitive reasons, though, we'll have to wait to find out. While Gene has said that he isn't blaming Guenther for the team's competitive failings, his press release announcing Steiner's departure hinted at Guenther being at least part of the problem. Specifically the sentence, "We need to be efficient with the resources we have, but improving our design and engineering capability is key to our success as a team," tells of a potential rift behind the scenes. Gene will have been spending tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars every year bankrolling the team. And while having an F1 team is cool, you also want it to be profitable. Clearly, Gene was not happy with how Guenther was spending his money, and that would have created tension between them. Gene goes on to say that he's looking forward to IO fundamentally ensuring that we maximize our potential, doubling down on the fact that Guenther was not making the most of Gene's investment at the team. Guenther's work to keep the team running through the pandemic has to be commended. Throughout F1 history, countless teams have folded under much lighter financial constraints, but competitively, the team just did not cut it. There is another side to Guenther Steiner though that Haas and Formula 1 will miss. He is, or I should say was, a massive marketing piece for the team. He achieved stardom thanks to Drive to Survive, making him a main character in their documentary. He's on the cover of F1 Manager 2023 alongside Toto Wolff and Christian Horner. In terms of airtime, Guenther got more than the Ferrari team principals have done in the last few years. That kind of exposure is a marketable asset to sell to sponsors. Io Komatsu will not be able to fill that role. No one in F1 can. So that's a big loss to the Haas brand. In the end though, if the team were more competitive, they would have got more coverage anyway. F1 pundit Lawrence Barreto tweeted, "I understand Steiner and owner Gene Haas had differing views on the team's path forward, and thus it was decided to go their separate ways, and that probably is all there is to this. While Haas may be able to be more competitive with a change of management, Guenther is a loss to Formula 1, though I'm sure he'll not be gone for long. There may not be space for him to return to Formula 1 as a team principal, but media companies around the world will be trying to contact him to get him on their F1 coverage, so hopefully we won't have seen the last of him." Guenther isn't the only huge exit from the Haas team in recent days though. As technical director, Simone Resta has also left the Formula 1 squad. According to the Italian edition of Motorsport.com, Resta left due to disagreements with owner Gene Haas and a reported lack of motivation. The report said that Resta no longer found the motivation in Haas, and disagreements began in 2023 when he was eager to spend the development budget on the first version of the VF23. Gene Haas wanted the car to follow the design of Red Bull instead, which is reported as being the main sticking point between the two parties. Considering the results of the Red Bull car in 2023, it's completely understandable why Gene wanted that, and with every other team following Red Bull as the season progressed, Gene made the right call. The last piece of this story is Io Komatsu and Haas moving forward. As a rookie team principal, can he improve the team? "We look from within at who had most experience," says Haas. Io has been with the team since day one. He knows the ins and outs of it. "My biggest concern is when we go to Bahrain, we need to show up with a car that is ready to go. Maybe having more of a managerial type and engineering approach. We'll see if that has benefits." I think Guenther has more of a human type approach to everything with people and the way he interacted with people. He was very good at that. Io is very technical. He looks at things based on statistics. This is what we're doing bad, where we can do better. It's a different approach. We really do need something different because we weren't really doing that well. Like I said, it all comes down to 8 years in, dead last. Nothing more I can say on that. With the start of the season just weeks away, this last-minute change in team principal may not have much of an effect on the car we see at preseason practice. The progression to a competitive team can take years, and Io's input as team principal into that growth won't be felt until much later into the season. But with a brand new set of regulations set for 2026, this was perhaps the perfect time for Haas to take a new direction. What do you think of all of this? Should Gunther shoulder the blame for his team's failings? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.